Hello, everyone. Today, I want to talk to those people out there that I call soul driven. You are the people that have these huge hearts. You care so much about humanity that it hurts. You're committed to a particular volunteer organization, a cause, or you might have even started your own nonprofit. The thing is, you also feel guilty for not doing enough, for not saving enough people, for not being enough. You don't celebrate your wins because you think that perhaps you haven't done enough to celebrate, or that you're worried about being judged from others. But as you have already seen in your life, that there is magical possibility from this place of caring so much about people. And today, I'm so honored to share with you an example of what is possible from that place. So I'm so happy to introduce you to Bee Bowman. Woo! Bee is, we can describe Bee as joy, leader, love, luminescence, and connection. She is the founder and president of an organization called Sponsors for Kenya. And since 2012, they've raised over $300,000. In her campaign that's happening right now, she's already raised over $25,000, which is amazing. And as part of that, she's also co-founder of Kiotani, which is a boarding school for over 132 kids, and more than half of those kids live on site. Hey, Bee.
Hi.
Oh, well, why don't you tell us how all of this got started? Take us back to that first trip to Kenya and what brought you there in the first place.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to talk to you. My first trip to Kenya was in August of 2012, and I was there for 2 weeks with an organization that support women and children suffering from HIV. And we were there to create a farm for them, to help them be self-sustained. And we did a dance program with them and just spent all day with these women and children. And I saw a huge need for support. And every day we drove past the sign that said land for sale. And that just got me thinking, what if we had land? What if we had even a semi-permanent structure for these women who are living in cardboard boxes? What if they could have a lock on their door at night? And I just kept that thought with me when I went home. And I was so excited to be home. I told my coworkers that, all these amazing women and families in Kenya, and all the things that we could do for them with very small means.
So what even brought you to Kenya in the first place? When you were there for 2 weeks, did a friend tell you about something, or how did you even...
Well, I was on a bus in Mexico.
Okay.
And the woman next to me, she had been to Kenya. I had been to Tanzania. We started talking about our experiences, and she was saying how she was hoping to go back the next year. And I said to her, well, just let me know. I'd love to join you. And so I did. And we had a group of 15 people go. And just jumping at the opportunity.
Wow. That's awesome. So I love what you said there. So first of all, starting up a conversation with this woman that you didn't know, right? On the bus.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. Did something tell you I should talk to this woman? Or did you just start a conversation?
It was a group of people. We were all at a retreat together, but I didn't know her from before. And I'm an introvert, so usually I would just sit and look out the window, and then I was like, no, I should talk to her. And so we did, and
That's so
Yeah.
cool. I love how you met on a retreat too. As you know, I'm like full on into retreats now. It's such a magical space. So you're on this retreat, you talk to this woman on a bus, then you say yes to traveling together with her, to Kenya. You're there, you're with these people and with them for those 2 weeks. You see this land for sale. So then what happened next?
Well, I went home. I was working the night shift because I'm a nurse. And one of my coworkers asked, like, how can we help? Do you have a bank account? Can I make a donation? And she wanted to give me $7, which it's an even amount in Sweden.
Okay.
That's like, and I just started thinking, I'm like, yeah, sure. I will arrange for that. So I emptied one of my accounts, I moved the money, and I just named it Sponsorship for Kenya because I needed to come up with a name, and I started a Facebook page because people were starting to ask at work.
It's interesting that people started to ask. They must have been asking because you must have been just like talking about it and telling them all these tales and stories and what was happening, I imagine. Like you really brought them in, right?
Yeah, it must have been that. I was just talking about my experience and these women and children, how amazing they were. And what struck me when I was there was people who, to us, don't have anything. They don't have safety. They don't have a roof over their heads. They don't have food to feed their children. They don't have their health. All these things that we often take for granted, they don't have. And they are many times happier than we are. There's so much joy in these slums.
Wow.
So that, I think that is what came through when I was talking about them and how we can help. And I was talking about how $1 would feed a family of 5 or 6 for a day. And
wow, that's amazing. So okay, so what was next then? So you told people in your life about what was going on. They wanted to donate. You made it possible, started this Facebook group, opened a bank account, and then what happened next?
Then I started seeing possibility because I was talking to one of the women who run the center that we volunteered at, and 2 women that had cooked for us for the 2 weeks that we were there. I had been in conversation with them because I was cooking with them one day, and I was asking, what's your dream? What do you dream of? And one said that she wanted to start a restaurant. The other one wanted to start a catering business. So I found out what it would cost, and it was $200 each for them to start their own businesses. So having already received $20, I'm like, whoa, I can do this. People want to give me money? Right. Okay. And so that was my first goal, to raise the $400 for the 2 of them. I did that in a couple weeks or less, sent them money, and they started their own businesses.
Oh my gosh.
And one of the women, sadly, she passed away a few years ago, but because of the money that she was able to earn, she was able to pay for cancer treatment twice. And then she passed away, but her son now goes to college because she was able to put money aside. And this other woman, it's,
oh my gosh, yeah,
$200 created a future for him, and it gave her several extra years of life with her family.
So I'm sensing that you started raising this money, and then you're going to say something about the other woman too.
Well, she started a little street stand where she bought a frying pan and some eggs, and she started making food, and now she caters for a school with 600 students. Her daughter is in a private school. They have a roof over their head. They have their own home.
It's amazing what can be started from to us, what is not, doesn't seem like that much money.
Right.
right? Like how it
Maybe,
impacts people's lives in such a huge way.
yeah. So that was the catalyst for me to see possibility. And I just thought, well, if I can do this with $200, imagine what I could do with more. So I was in conversation with one of the other women at the center, and I asked how I could support them. And she said, well, we have a daycare center, and it would be great to have some funds for food for them because it's often the only meal that these kids have. And I didn't love that idea because what happens when I stop sending money?
Right.
Or,
Yeah, it's not, it's kind of
it's a temporary solution.
Right, right.
So I asked her what I had asked Sophia and Josephine, these two women, like, what's your dream? Like, way off the chart. Like, what is your impossible dream? And she said to have a rescue center for these children in the slums. And I asked her how much it would be, and she said, well, probably $20,000 to have a semi-permanent structure, just roof over their heads to keep them safe, basically. And I told her that, okay, give me 5 years, and I will have the $20,000 for you. And then we ended up raising way more, way faster, lots of hard work. And when 5 years had passed, we had a school with over 100 students. The school wasn't even in the original plan. We were going to just have the rescue housing, but then the schools, we took in all these local kids and so many children living there. And like,
I love how you ask them. It's such a great question to ask, like, what's your impossible dream? And for her, it was just like having a roof over the heads of these kids, because that seemed impossible at the time. And then it's like, okay, we can do that. And then what actually happened is there's a school for over 100 kids. So it's like you start with, it's almost like that maybe wouldn't even be in the realm of impossibility. Like they didn't even know it could exist. So you start with one thing and then it just goes way out there.
yeah.
So had you been back to Kenya in this time? Like that you'd been like over those 5 years?
Yes. I go back about twice a year.
Okay.
So 6 months after the initial trip there, we had purchased our first acre of land, and we went there and we built the first little, basically a shed. It was a really nice shed. I built it like with our own hands. We were chopping wood and rocks. And
when you're there, so when you think about like you'd been there, 6 months goes by and then you're going back and you're like building the shed and building things with your bare hands, like what did people in your life say when you told them what you were going to do, or how did people react?
Some cheered me on, which was nice.
Yeah.
And some thought I was absolutely insane, and they're like, sweetheart, really? How are you going to pull that off? And of course, that triggered my like badass go-getter, don't tell me what to do. Right. I'm going to make this happen.
Yeah.
And I, like one person in particular, I got that comment, like, sweetheart, really? And I just turned around and thought, just watch me. You just wait.
Look at you go.
Yeah.
I love it. So, wow. That's really cool. And it's interesting, like what drives us at different times, right? Like at first it was seeing those people and seeing what you could do and seeing what their dreams were. And you're like, oh, I can totally do this. And then sometimes it's people saying like, you know, with that tone or that comment, like, this is not going to happen, you know, like pick something else. And, you know, sometimes we just need like different things to really drive us and get the job done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, where's the project at now? Like I know you're going back in September, you said, right?
Yes, September is our next trip. I haven't seen my babies since last September, so I miss them. And right now, my main goal is to get Kiotani self-sustained.
Right. And that's the school, right?
That's the school. So Kiyotani means in the nest.
Ah, in the nest.
So like kids being safe in their nest, being taken care of.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. It's a good.
So what does it take for them to be self-sustaining?
Well, it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of money, and we're going to do it. What we're working on now is solar panels for like replacing the generator for the pump, because we have our own well, so that is expensive to have the fuel for that. So we're switching over to solar power. We are installing a biogas system.
Wow.
So we won't need to buy charcoal or cooking gas. It will all be free.
Amazing.
And we collect water. We are expanding our farmland. So we grow our own vegetables. We are currently planting hundreds of fruit trees.
Wow, that's amazing. So, I mean, I think the same as what you were talking about, the dreams of these women and what life there is like for people, and how a little bit, you know, from our side, I guess, goes like such a long way there. And even from the stories that you've told me, and obviously what you've told other people, people are really inspired to give and support this cause. So how can people support this and support the kids at Kiyotani?
Well, there are several different ways of doing that. One is to support a specific child,
Okay.
which is typically what people are most drawn to, because they get a face and a name, and they're able to go see this child.
Mm-hmm.
And to sponsor a child fully, so they can move from the slum, and they have housing and food and education and medical care, anything that they will need, is $65 US a month. And they're also, if you want to make one-time donations, depending on the amount that you choose, we give you like a list of things that amount would cover. So whether it's like $100 would pay for this many fruit trees, or
right. Oh, that's cool. So people know what their money is going towards, for example.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, so they can choose.
Right. Okay. So they're sponsoring the individual child. And is there a time frame, like if someone's doing the $65 a month, like do you recommend that they do this for so many years, like until the kid's a certain age?
Well, our wish and our hope is always that they follow through until the kids graduate, until they're 18.
Okay.
Of course. That is always our wish, but we do encourage them, the sponsors, to stay with the sponsorship for as long as possible, or if they need to end their sponsorship, to look at their community. Is there someone else who would like to take over?
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
To kind of keep that going, right?
Exactly, because these are actual children.
Yeah, and it's kind of like once you take responsibility for a child, like you can't just be like, oh, I'm done now. Right? So if you're no longer in that financial place to do so, which most of us are, right? Like there's things that we can shift around to sponsor somebody. But if to not just kind of leave them, and to make sure that somebody else takes over.
Yeah. And you can share it with someone too.
That's a great
idea. You have several people sharing it. So
that's a great idea. Okay, so there's sponsoring the child, there's a one-time donation.
Yeah, and there's also monthly donations for a smaller amount that would go to the children who we take in that don't yet have sponsors. Because there are cases where children are being harmed where they are, and we choose to move them to Kiyotani without a sponsor, just because they need to be kept safe.
Okay, so mostly the way it is now, unless kids are moved because it's unsafe, all the kids that are at Kiyotani have a sponsor.
Yes.
And that's what allows them to go there.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
So we have a few that don't have sponsors, but I figure that out every month. Somehow I figure it out.
Okay. I know you do. So, and you said people can also like host a fundraiser, or their company can donate. Like, how does that work?
Yes, we have companies can donate, and because the organization that we work with in Kenya, they're an NGO, so they can write receipts. So it's tax deductible if you're in the US, for example,
Okay.
or in Canada, and that will enable us to do bigger things. If you have a company that want to donate $5,000, then that can make huge difference.
Right. And you said, yeah, like some companies that you worked with used to donate to a particular cause, and then you started working with them and giving them some awareness around what you're doing in Kenya, and then they ended up donating, like putting their funds towards your project.
Yes.
Right.
So we have some organizations or businesses that donate to us every month around Christmas, or there's a 5K and a 10K race in my hometown, and they donate a part of their profit every year to us.
Wow, that's so cool.
They keep coming back.
So can you tell us just a little bit more about like what some of the money goes to? Like if you have any stories about the kids or particular kid to kind of share how this has impacted them?
Well, we have, there's so many kids, so many kids. And there are stories that are almost like too awful to share. But there's this, a brother and a sister, Michelle and Elijah. They, when she wasn't even born, her mom was like 9 months pregnant. She was living in the streets of Nairobi with Elijah, who was 2 or 3 at the time. And then she went to the hospital. She gave birth to Michelle, and she was bound to go back into the streets with an infant and a toddler. So the organization that we work with, Positive Life Kenya, they found her, and they helped her with housing, and she was living in one of the slums. And I met Michelle and Elijah when Michelle was only 2, I think, so 5 years ago. And they knew that we had started building something. They didn't know what it was, but they knew it was something great. So Elijah would ask us, like, hey, when can I come? When can I come? And every time I would go there, he would ask, when is it my turn? When can I go? And at that time, we have 3 goats and a little shed. Like, I'm sorry, there's not much I can do for you right now. But when we opened just over a year ago, Michelle and Elijah moved there because we found sponsors for them. So they are now out of the slums. They're getting an education. They're safe. Their mom, Veronica, is able to work, and she doesn't have to worry about like keeping her kids safe, because they're not safe in the slums. There are a lot of alcoholism and abuse going on. So for them, it's just created this opportunity for the entire family to thrive. And I have
that. Yeah, and sorry, and you.
No, I was just gonna say that she now has a chance at life,
right,
to build something and get out of the slums,
right,
because she can save all that money too.
Right. Yeah, and her kids are in school, and she, like you said, she can work.
Yeah, and she can breathe. She doesn't have to worry.
Wow. I love how the kid, what was his name again? The one that was like, when can I come? When can I come?
Oh, Elijah.
Yeah. Like, just how you being there and what you guys were doing was obviously, like, people knew about it. It was maybe talked about in the community. And, like, the kids were excited. It's somewhere that they wanted to go, and for you to be able to create that place for them.
Yeah.
So amazing.
Never thought of that, because I guess it created hope for them.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, one day I'm going to get to go there.
Right? Like, your place is the place that they want to go, right? Maybe, that for them could be their impossible dream right now.
Yeah. I really thought.
So what do you have planned coming up in September? What are you going to be doing there in September?
We will be loving those kids up. That's my main
Oh.
my main goal when I go. We sit and we read stories and we play Legos and we do puzzles and like we just give them hugs and kisses, and that's, for me, that's the most important part, because many of these children never had that. They don't even know what love looks like.
And do
And
all
to
of them,
have,
like, are some of them orphans? Some of them have parents? Like, is there?
yes.
Okay.
So 26 of them are orphans and they live with us permanently.
Okay.
And then there are several others who had such awful home environments that they're not actually safe, because there's a lot of abuse even within the home.
Okay.
So our social workers, they will evaluate the home situation before they're sent home on breaks, for example.
Oh, okay.
So sometimes they choose to keep the kids over the holidays just so they're safe.
Okay.
But another goal is to plant even more fruit trees. I want to raise money for more land, have another orchard, plant avocado trees and mangoes and all these things, and probably paint. We painted classrooms last time and the kids were so excited.
Aww.
And like little things like putting stickers on all the beds.
Great.
Like, yeah, I travel halfway across the planet to put stickers on beds, but
they must love it.
That's the thing. They love it and they appreciate it so much. And we bring clothes for them and they all get a new outfit every time we go. And yeah, so it's just little things.
Which are not little things, really.
Yeah, they're big little
things.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would you want to say to those that maybe are now where you were? Like they've seen something or they were part of an event that really impacted them and they're like, oh, I want to do something. Like they have this kind of inner passion and desire to affect change. But yeah, like what would you say to them?
It's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
It's worth all the hard work and the frustration and the tears and the setbacks, and it is all worth it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when I'm sure there's been moments for you when you think like, oh, I can't do this, or, you know, like you said, there's frustration and setbacks. Like what keeps you going in those moments?
Well, it used to be the first, I'd say 3 years, it was just that go-getter, I'm going to prove you wrong. That's what was the driving force. And now it's the kids. Right. Knowing that if I make a difference for one child, that is a huge difference. And that's good enough. And knowing that I can make a difference for so many more, that's what keeps me going. And picturing their smiles when I'm down, I'm like, oh, this is so hard and I don't want to do it and it's complicated. And I just go through my photos and look at them and see how much life there is in them.
Wow. Thank you. So when we share this video, we're going to share the links for how people can donate. Yeah, I'm like, wow, what you're doing is so amazing. And when I first heard about you and what you were doing, like I didn't even really know much about it. But since we've been talking about it and even hearing more about it now, like it's really quite amazing what you've created. And when you see like kind of the hope that you've given to kids and how it like changes and impacts people, like, and how the change, like it kind of trickles down, right? Like you said, that one woman, she could start her business and then so she could send her son to college and then he'll be better off for, you know, the next generation. Like it just, the impact just keeps going and going.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, these kids are never going to be in the streets or in the slums again.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Is there anything else that you want to share with all your people out there?
I think just like to go after your dreams, to go after that impossible thing that you know that you want. Just go for it.
Awesome.
It's doable.
Just go for it. It's doable.
Yeah.
I love it. And like you, when you came back, you just were like, oh, I'll just start collecting money and I'll get a bank account. Like just one step, you know, right? Like you probably didn't think that you would be where you are now.
No.
But you have one goal, right? It's like, oh, $400 so these women can start their catering business and their food business, right? So it's like just pick one thing and just start and just go with it.
And celebrate along the way. That's something that I haven't done.
Right.
Yeah, I would definitely say celebrate the little wins. Celebrate the $20. Celebrate the $200. Celebrate like every little win, every little step that you take towards what you want. Celebrate it.
Yeah, that's a great reminder. Thank you.
Yeah.
Celebrate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Recognize everything that you've done and just allow yourself to kind of just breathe and be like, wow, we've done and we're doing so much, right?
Yeah.
Enjoy it. Okay, cool. All right. Well, thanks, B. I can't wait to see how many people are going to donate and keep in touch with you about all of this. And we'll share the links for how people can donate to Sponsors for Kenya.
Yes.
And keep changing lives. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amy.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks.